Jim Carroll, Ralph Baber, psychology takeaway. You need a dose of the real, life's absurd, we know the deal. Did you hear? Don't let it get you down. Turn that frown upside down, down, upside.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Psychology Takeaway, where Ralph and I look at current events in psychology and try to put them into some sort of perspective. Hi, Ralph.
Hi, Jim. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You notice I'm wearing my costume from last week.
Right.
We celebrated the 4th of July. 4th of July, 250, right?
Right.
Okay. And this celebration's been going on for a while. I've, got my hat on here. And Sheila and I were at a signing of the Declaration of Independence party a couple of weeks ago. And here's our costume then. Okay, that's Mrs. Kirk. We've had her daughter, Andrea, on several times. There's Sheila, looking like, who? Betsy Ross, maybe?
Maybe.
And there's me, looking like a commoner?
A commoner.
Yeah, and, definitely a commoner. And as I pointed out last week, if we hadn't won, I'd look like Elton John.
That would be true.
Yeah. So I'll put the earphones on, so I can retire the hat, I think.
Until
Maybe 300.
300, yeah.
Yeah. So another 50 years, out comes the hat again. We've been talking, Ralph, about fear. We talked about fear in a general from a general point of view. We talked about it from a learned point of view. And then last week with episode 3, we talked about phobias. But we promised our viewers and listeners that we would get around to the treatment of fear.
Yeah.
Now, the prevalence you cited was about 1 out of 10, somewhere between 7 out of 100 or 10 out of 100. So quite a few people have some sort of fear that might, in some way, detract from their quality of life.
Yeah.
And we talked about people who are fearful, like John Madden, and how he adapted or was able to adapt. And we talked about people who, kind of stayed away from fear objects, and that reinforced their fear, actually. So
now,
go ahead, Ralph. I'm sorry.
Well, one of the things, Jim, that we could look at in terms of phobias is to say, are they curable? And the answer seems to be yes.
Yep.
In most cases, a phobia can be cured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To about the 90% level.
Mm-hmm. So that would take it from 1 in 10 to, 1 out of 100.
1 out of 100.
You're still going to have some people who will be uncomfortable, but people who have fear of germs, fear of snakes, fear of dogs, in particular, things like snakes and dogs, they can learn how to not be fearful. Just as your fear acquisition was learned, so too your fear, your non-fear response can be learned.
Can be learned.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing with that is you say, okay, well, if that's true, what do I need? Do I need a chemical, i.e. a pharmacological drug of some kind? Do I need talk therapy? What do I need?
You need some behavior therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need talk therapy because, listening to you talk about your fear of anything, it's just going to put me asleep. If you're afraid of a dog, I can help you become less afraid of dogs. If you're afraid of snakes, I can help you become less afraid of snakes in an adaptive way. If you're in an environment that's got lots of dangerous snakes, the phobia might be actually helpful. But if you're just afraid, I'll give you an example. I'm not really a big fan of snakes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I was on TV 9 and 10 a few years ago, and I was being interviewed about something in psychology, and people from the zoo up in Traverse City. That time it was Clinch Park, had a little zoo there. And they were on the show also. And the host said, "Oh, and you brought a guest with you." They pulled out of the basket this python, anaconda,
Yeah, python.
boa constrictor type
Yeah.
snake. And big snake, they put it over my shoulders. Now, I would not normally take a snake over my shoulders as, for fun. But, I didn't enjoy it, but I didn't freak out either because my fear of making an ass out of myself was a lot greater than the fear of the boa constrictor.
Okay.
Okay, but some people will be afraid of a snake, and I think I can find it. I've got this video of a psychologist using a behavioral approach with a woman who had a snake phobia. Now, a few minutes ago, Michael was in here, and we were talking about how you would help somebody therapeutically, with a behavioral approach. Do you want to outline that again, Ralph?
Yeah, we talked about somebody who had, for example, a fear of dogs. So maybe they acquired the fear because when they were a toddler or 2 years old, they went over towards a German Shepherd that somebody else had, and they went to pat it, and they got yelled at, get away from that dog, it'll bite you.
Okay, neutral stimulus, the aversive stimulus is yelling, not unlike little Albert.
Right.
Like furry objects, clang went the bell. He didn't like furry objects anymore.
Right.
Okay, so that's how.
That's how it's acquired. Now, it probably would take more than one exposure to being yelled at, but nevertheless, it's acquired.
Mm-hmm.
So from then on in, you fear dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the gold standard for helping you with that is what we would call exposure therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing you do is you go and see somebody and you say, I have this phobia about dogs. I hate dogs. I fear dogs. They're going to bite me.
Okay. Well, let's just throw that person into a pack of dogs and see what happens.
That's called flooding.
Uh-huh. And that's probably called unethical, right?
Right.
Okay.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah, all right. So,
The reason it doesn't work is that it floods the person with emotions, negative emotions.
okay.
And all they do is get more fearful.
Okay, so in my example from last week, tying up John Madden and dragging him into an airplane and having the airplane take off and fly around a while, that's going to not work, right?
It's going to not work.
Okay. Well,
So-
we've conditioned little Albert to be afraid. How are we going to condition him to be unafraid?
Well, what we start out with, we work with the fear gradually, very gradually, one step at a time, by introducing in a non-threatening way the idea of whatever they're afraid of. Hairy little animals, hairy big animals,
Okay.
dogs. So you say, okay, well, I'm going to show you some pictures of dogs.
Uh-huh.
And we can talk about, here's a picture of a dog being patted. Here's a picture of a dog licking somebody's hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, okay, well, yeah, they look friendly.
Okay.
And then you say, okay, well, now I'm going to show you some videos.
Mm-hmm.
And you see people interacting with dogs and they're playing with frisbees and balls and, everything's
Okay.
happy.
Yeah.
So gradually, and then you might say, okay, now I'm going to show you in the room here,
Bringing a dog into the room.
I'm going to have a little dog.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see the little dog.
Okay, now the big thing here, Ralph, and I'm getting this, is that you're introducing the aversive, the learned, the thing that the person has learned, the fear of the dog, but you are not in any way giving them an aversive stimulus. I mean,
No.
you're not clanging bells or anything like that.
No, you're gradually making them aware that in almost every case, the dog is going to be a friendly animal.
Yeah, so the dog is going to become a neutral stimulus again.
Right.
Yeah, this is what Wolpe called desensitization. It's a kind of a reverse of Watson's experiment with little Albert. You're presenting the feared object without the feared stimulus.
Right.
Okay.
So then eventually you might get somebody who says,
Let me pet the dog.
yeah, I can pet the dog and I'm okay with dogs. I still don't like big dogs, but I'm not really afraid of them. And if I go by somebody's yard and there's a big German Shepherd, I might not reach out to pat the German Shepherd who's barking at me.
But I won't freak out.
But I won't freak out. I'll just walk by.
Okay.
So, we would say that's at the 90% level. The person who would start screaming and running no longer does that.
Yeah. And, hey, that enlarges their world. They don't have to avoid walking past a barking dog in the neighborhood, right?
Right.
Okay. So phobias can be treated. Who would treat them? Well, I would say a psychologist would be probably the best bet for treating a phobia. I don't know if physicians would do it. I think they might take the here's a drug to relax you approach.
Yeah.
But phobias can be treated really quickly, too. The one I was talking about with the woman who had the snake phobia, within, I'd say, 40 minutes or so, she was able to touch and pat and speak to this snake. Again, I'm not sure how adaptive that is in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, but, if you're really afraid of something, you can learn to overcome it. If you're afraid of elevators, hey, you don't have to walk to the 100th floor of your office building. You can learn how to get into an elevator and get up to the 100th floor in about 1 minute, as opposed to how long would it take for you to walk up 100 flights of stairs?
30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah. You'd be pretty tired from the day by the time you're there.
But you'd be in good shape if you did it.
If you did it, yeah.
Or you'd have a heart attack.
Either one would, either or. Okay, so if people find themselves not just simply disliking something, but having a total fear of something happening to them, like, I don't know, fear of heights. A good example from you last week is when you fell off the mountain. Well, okay, a good learning experience for you, Ralph, would have been, okay, I'm going to stay off the edge of a mountain. I'm going to stay off the edge of a cliff. But I doubt if you've learned that one, right?
Well, here's the thing, Jim. I had no fear of heights before that.
Okay.
Now, I don't have a phobia, but I have a slight fear of heights.
Okay. Would that be more like a respect of
Yes.
heights? Okay.
Yes.
Which is okay because, if you take away all of our fears, then we're going to be defenseless, right?
Yeah.
There's some things that, it's just sort of healthy to fear.
Yeah.
And, the example that I've given before is if you're in an environment where there are a lot of poisonous animals, poisonous snakes, poisonous bugs, well, you should, if not fear them, at least be aware that they might, there might be some unhealthy consequences if you get too close to them. Here in Michigan, we don't have, the venomous snakes or the many venomous insects. We do have some. I would, I would not avoid going into the woods. Okay, but if I went into the woods after I came out from my hike, I would check myself really, really well and get somebody else to check me also in parts of my body that I can't see to make sure that I have not picked up a tick.
Right.
Okay? Why? Do I fear getting Lyme disease? No, I don't fear it, but I certainly don't want it either.
Yeah. And so ticks carry Lyme disease, so you want to make sure that they're
Yeah.
not burying themselves in your skin.
Right.
So here's the thing. We give the brain experience negatively. We create a positive experience for the brain. And so we relearn through experience. And then we say, okay, what is a wise precaution? Well, a wise precaution is to make sure that you don't have any ticks, on the back of your neck or whatever. So then you say, okay, well, if the example I gave, the kid who learned to fear dogs because he was yelled at by going close to a dog, so we shouldn't do that? Well, yes, but, what do we do? Well, we don't necessarily yell at the kid. We support them. How could we support them?
Let's see. How could we support? I suppose as an adult, if I was not afraid of a dog, an animal, I might take the kid by the hand and say, let's go up and get closer to the dog and see what
See
the
what
dog
the
does.
dog's reaction is.
Yeah. Now, if the dog, bares its teeth and growls and snarls, a wise thing might be not to get too close to the dog.
Yeah, but you could say, this dog doesn't look very friendly.
This dog.
This dog. That's
Okay.
not all dogs.
All right. Yeah, gotcha.
So, you have to be aware of what the dog's reaction is, son. And you say, okay,
When something is growling and snarling at you, it's a good time to avoid it.
yeah,
Okay, when a dog that's this tall is going yap, 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 I avoid it too just because it's so obnoxious, but it's not going to be a feared object, right?
yeah,
Okay. So we help the kid make some discriminations. That there are some things that, are legitimate fears. You should avoid, in your case, you should avoid standing too close to the edge of the mountain, Ralph.
yeah,
But, the being in the elevator probably is safer than walking across the street on a
busy downtown.
busy downtown campus or something,
Yeah.
right?
Now, one of the things about that is the increase in fears we can gather through social media and the 24-hour news cycle.
Uh-huh.
So, if you hear repeated stories about how
Well, you used the example of the climate change, I talked about the stock market,
Yeah.
fear stories.
fear
Well,
stories,
yeah.
and
So avoid social media, avoid 24-hour news channels, right?
well,
and-
you can do that, or you can say, what is the contradictory evidence? So here's the thing. You hear on the 24-hour weather cycle that the heat dome is going to bring to the Midwest, i.e. our state, unusually hot times.
Uh-huh.
So what do? Well, you
Stay
say,
inside.
I'm going to stay inside where there's air conditioning. And I'm going to go to the store where there's air conditioning. Buy
Yep.
my car, which has air conditioning. So I'm not going to go and try and work outside with a pick and shovel.
Yeah. So you're making the stimulus out there. Instead of being fear, you're making it information, and based upon information, then you're going to change or alter your behavior. I
Behavior.
gotcha. Well, we've been dealing with fear for the last 4 weeks. This is Jim.
And Ralph.
non-fearfully, saying, and there we are, with our costumes for the 4th of July and America's 250th birthday. And like I say, Ralph, 50 years from now, I'll bring the hat back out, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I will take the Elton John sunglasses off.
That would be a good thing.
Okay. So we'll see you next week, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, we should say the magic words,
Yes,
Okay.
keep your stick on the ice.
because we're all in this
Together.